I'm touching on some wounds today. Wounds of deracination, a lack of rootedness. Wounds of anger. At the fact that freedom in this world isn't really a given. Not in the same way that breath is a given. All these illusions, all these repressions, all these suppressions stand in the way. And freedom is something that has to be fought for. That has to be earned. You must earn your living. Meanwhile, the dolphins, they swim in the ocean freely. And the whales, they sing. And the birds, they fly. And the insects, they crawl. And the flowers, they bloom. But humans, for some reason, constricted, walking like automata. In college, when I studied philosophy, it was a universal axiom that humans have free will and the animals do not. Humans have reason, logos, the power of mind. Whereas animals behave on instinct and impulse. How superior we are. And how supercilious such claims are, especially in face of the world of concrete that it creates. Most of the humans who either directly or indirectly believe this, believe in the superiority of man over the animals, are actually unfree. Worse than unfree are actually slaves. And thus, in their proclamations of freedom, are hypocrites. I say this, and I proclaim freedom a lot. And I'm fighting for my freedom, but a lot of ways I feel unfree, so I ask myself, fuck, am I a hypocrite? To which I pray, may all the ways in which I am a hypocrite, may all the ways in which my actions are not aligned with my values be melted away and reoriented towards divine alignment so that my freedom can be divinely embodied and guided into being. That is what's coming through. I will not be a slave. All of the ways in which I am are in a process of death, while I am in a process of reclamation of my sovereignty. And today especially, I feel the ocean waves are coming close. Today especially I feel the constriction and the confinement and the suffocation of the concrete and my need to fight my way out. I've been oscillating. between feeling my supreme freedom and then feeling like, oh, all hope is lost. The tide's coming in, so I'm going to rapid fire this video. Today I'm touching on a wound of deracination and of anger, and it is making me realize that every human being is his own or her own dyad between light and shadow. Your soul and your darkness. Duality. In some state of contradiction, striving for integration. Now, this particular duality, this particular dyad of your own light and your own shadow, was actually formed from another set of dyads. The dyad of your parents, of your mother's light and shadow, of your father's light and shadow. Carl Jung. What does Carl Jung have to do with this? Carl Jung discovered that the human psyche has a quaternal structure. That is a structure of 4 parts. Quaternity is like a trinity, but 4. In his research about dreams, he essentially theorized that every human psyche is its own mandala constituted by 4 parts. The upper half would be the light, the conscious. The lower half would be the shadow. The quaternity of it is like the 4 elements. Is like the 4 directions. It's like the cross. Within this quaternal structure of your own psyche, of your own self, each quadrant is motherly ancestral light, motherly ancestral shadow, fatherly ancestral light, fatherly ancestral shadow. Perhaps I'll draw a diagram and put it on the video. Today, to make this more personal, I have been touching and feeling and thinking and theorizing and working through my mother's mysticism, my father's linguistic prowess and gifts and intellect, these being their lights. My father and paternal lineage's relationship to consumption, the stomach, digestion. And on my mother's side, this like ungrounded wanderer, head in the clouds, always seeking externally for roots, which are ultimately internal. I am the convergence of these 4 elements, these 4 psychic, psycho-spiritual, metaphysical elements of these ancestral rivers of my becoming. I am my father's language gifts. I am my father's unintegrated wounds. I am my mother's mystical intuition. I am my mother's unintegrated wounds. And all of these form the elemental composition of my being. So that those lights form into one, and those wounds form into one. How do I put all of this without putting my parents on blast? I've been witnessing today. Something of a lack of roots that feels like a lack of home. And from that lack of home, that lack of having a place that I can go to that feels safe. And for this pattern to have been present within my life for a very long time, longer than I know, and likely ancestrally, I have been seeking externally for that safety, for that feeling of home, for that feeling of love, for that feeling of care, of being held and like, okay, I can just breathe here. And the unhealthy ways in which that expresses itself in the stomach, in seeking for food and temporary pleasure within the food, in consumption of content, contentment, content, contentment. Content is illusory contentment. You are not content. I really like that came through. That's a code. Consumption of content to fill the void of the stomach, which is an abyss of its own avoidance. Seeking externally and being a wanderer. In 2020, I bought a van. And I moved into the van. And serendipitously, it was right before the manufactured economic collapse. And so they were shutting down San Diego. And I was like, you guys aren't going to let me surf here? I'm going to get the fuck out of this city then. There's no reason to be here. Especially when everyone is trapped in fear and wearing masks and... So I went and lived in the woods, and that's where I read Carl Jung, and that's where I discovered his discovery of the quaternal structure of the psyche. I'm sorry if these words feel ungrounded. I am rapid firing because the tide is coming in hot. Cold. It's cold, but it's coming in hot. In 2020, I moved into my first van. From there, I was a nomad for 3 or 4 years, living in all 4 corners of the United States, always wandering, externally reaching for a place to plant my roots, but never finding it. Because I was still rooted in fear in my root chakra, as opposed to chakra. Root chakra. My roots have been stuck in survival, in food, shelter, nourishment. Whereas the roots which I truly need are a rootedness in my heart and in my purpose, in my vision. My roots have been stuck for much of my life within my stomach and within my lust, within my lower impulses, my lower drives, which is where the supercilious philosophers who spoke abashedly about animals and animality and called them unfree, they were correct. Then when we are slaves to our own impulses, to our stomachs and to our lust, then we are not truly free. We are stuck in those places. I am working through the solar plexus, up into my heart, into my crown. Beep. And my third eye, as they say. Which is where, okay, I'm gonna pause. If you know, I've been in a men's group working through the energy centers for 2 months at a time. First the root, then the sacral, then the solar plexus, which is where we are now. It seems that I've been witnessing all of the lower roots, and now I am realizing that I need, oh my God, the water! I just got wet. The womb. The roots are now making their way up. They're realizing that the roots, from the lack of rootedness that I've been feeling in this wound of my being, they need to find their way into my heart and into my vision, into my Sagittarian arrows, into my intention, into my mind's ability to free itself, to bring limitations into my life that allow for my soul and my heart to flow, for my creativity to abound, away from the constrictions of the concrete jungle and towards the true breath-oriented, divinely aligned jungles of my free spirit, in my heart, in my voice, my throat, in my third eye and my crown, astral expansion and evolution. I admit to a particular lack of groundedness today, but these are how the words want to come through, and in spite of the imperfection, I am allowing it to come out as a form of processing. The wound of a lack of rootedness, of a lack of purpose, of a filling that lack of rootedness and purpose with consumption and with wandering like a ghost, like a hungry ghost. The wound is a hungry, ghostly wound, which is not merely my own, but is a deep collective wound which so many human beings carry. To heal that wound requires purpose. It requires heart. It requires soul. It requires willpower. It requires vision. And it requires action. It requires action rooted in a mind aligned with the heart, aligned with the soul, pouring itself forth purposefully towards its own vision, towards the actualization of one's own potential. And then to make the actualization of our potential our roots, the place where we find our home. This is what I am being invited to do by God here in San Diego, where I'm not feeling rootedness or any safe place to root in this concrete jungle. I don't even have like a home space to call my own. I was staying at a hostel surrounded by people drinking and like in this fucking hungry ghost energy to be offered that mirror. That there is some part of me that is in resonance with hungry ghosts. So I was living with them. I've left that. I've rented a van. And I'm going to live in a van until I can conjure something else. Which I will. In due time. For now, the van at least is my own space. The point is that my rootedness, my place of safety, cannot in this point of my life, in this season of my life, even be in anything external like a home. I am being challenged to, even if I'm living out of a van, find my safety within my purpose. Find my safety within my mission, within the actualization of my potential through my writing practice, through the creation of these YouTube videos, which help me to process all of these emotions, all of these feelings, all of these ideas, all of these thoughts into the gifts which my parents have bestowed upon me, to transmute the wounds which they have bestowed upon me into the gifts which they have bestowed upon me, and into the actualization of that transmutation into my fruition, the fruition of the abundance which I truly am. I am so much more worthy than feeling stuck and limited to sleeping in vans. Now, I recognize that I've put myself financially in a situation where that is the necessity, and now it's my responsibility to break myself out of that. And I feel that within my power, and I'm going this weekend to work a festival that is going to conjure much of the needed funds to slowly but surely work myself out of this muck. The womb is coming to reclaim me into the safety of the Divine Mother holding me within her arms. The water is coming so close. Okay. Did that all make sense? It makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm grateful because I feel like I reached a breakthrough that took me a minute to get to. In conclusion, your safety, your apotheosis, your salvation from all of these wounds, from all of the ways in which you feel stuck and entrapped, your safety is in the actualization of your will and of your alignment with your mind, with your heart, into willful creation and volition. You have to create that place of safety, that place wherein you invite the feeling of safety to flow through your body. Now, of course, I want to say, nature is always a place of safety. Nature will always help you in navigating your wounds, in navigating your conflicts, in navigating your resolutions and your revolutions. But nevertheless, I have spent years in hermitage in nature, and that alone was not enough. What is necessary is the activation of willpower, of free will, to choose alignment with the divine, to choose alignment with your soul's apotheosis and purpose, to choose. Yee! So cold. To choose to take matters into your own hands. Oh my God. I forgot. I'm allowed to get up. Oh! Take matters into your own hands. 1 second. Possibly the most hectic video I will ever make. Take matters into your own hands and choose your freedom. Choose your way back to union with God. Choose the actualization of your soulful gifts. Choose to confront and to heal your wounds. And choose your freedom. in a world that appears so bent on slavery. You have to choose your freedom. That is what fighting for your freedom is. And ironically, I began this video by saying that your freedom is not a given. Your freedom is a given insofar as you have the free will to choose it. Your freedom is a given insofar as you have the free will to choose it. That is the transmission for the day. That is what that is what this whole ungrounded video has been about. Your freedom is a given insofar as you have the free will to choose it, but you also have the free will to negate it. You also have the free will to ignore it. You also have the free will to avoid your own free will, to avoid your own freedom, to avoid the responsibility required by your freedom, to avoid the responsibility bestowed upon you by God to choose to be free, as opposed to just be born into freedom. And this is the essence of Genesis, of the fall. God allowed us to fall so that we would choose God, not simply be in union with God as a given, but choose with the fullness of our will, with the fullness of our souls, to reconnect ourselves with God. And that is what is being asked of each of us in our inheritances of ancestral wounds and ancestral fallenness and ancestral gifts and ancestral light. Alchemize the curses into blessings. And alchemize the lessons into love. Because that's what it's all about. With your freedom, you choose love. Love of God, love of others, love of your own inner child, and love of all your ancestors and all your progeny to come. That's what it is.